One cool evening, Toby was resting in the sheds. He had had a busy day, assisting Mavis at the quarry with a large order of stone for the mainland. Early the next morning, Toby arrived at Knapford. As he drew into the platform, he could see the Fat Controller talking to an unfamiliar gentleman in an overcoat and bowler hat. Toby looked back to see the two men had already climbed into Henrietta, and the old tram engine obediently set off. As he puffed along the Little Western, Toby admired the sights and sounds of the Arlesborough coastline. But Toby's relaxed mood changed when they reached the old mine. Long ago, the mine had serviced the old Mid-Sodor Railway. Even though most of the track was still in place, everything was very rustic and overgrown. The Fat Controller and the gentleman stepped down from Henrietta and ventured off to a far corner of the mine site. And indeed, the two men shortly returned. That night, Toby told the others about the mine. The next day, the Fat Controller had ordered Toby to take a team of workmen up to the mine to undertake a secret project. Toby felt even more uneasy than before. Later that afternoon, the men were packing up their tools to return home. Toby was resting as his driver walked up. Toby was grateful he wouldn't be alone. He had Henrietta and his crew to keep him company. But all the same, when night fell and the mist began to rise, it did very little to settle the tram engine's nerves. Toby's crew returned shortly. Toby took a deep breath and made his way to an old workshop. There in front of him was a small tank engine, sound asleep and snoring quite loudly. The next morning, Toby returned to the workshop to pull Lady out onto the open line. Thomas had brought up the Fat Controller and the mysterious gentleman. Lady was soon loaded onto a lorry to be transported to the works for her restoration. Indeed, once she re-entered service, wherever she went, life would be far from dull. But that's another story.